My name is Mary, a 52-year-old company employee. My husband Michael has been bedridden due to the aftereffects of a traffic accident for the past 7 years. He has partial paralysis in his lower body and can only walk with the help of a wheelchair. While driving for work, he was rear-ended while waiting at a traffic light. The other driver was also working and apparently fell asleep at the wheel. When I received a call from my husband's company, I rushed to the hospital. Michael was conscious and able to speak, but he mentioned that he couldn't move his legs. At that moment, I never imagined he would become completely bedridden. When the doctor explained that there might be permanent disability in his lower body, it was the first time I realized the severity of the situation. After being discharged from the hospital about 2 months later, my husband's life took a drastic turn. The most challenging aspect was dealing with the toilet. Since he couldn't walk freely, even sitting on the makeshift toilet we placed in the room was quite a struggle. However, my easygoing husband, despite lamenting his physical limitations, found joy in no longer having to work. All the expenses were covered by the other driver's company. He received workers' compensation, insurance payments, and disability benefits. With that money, we renovated my husband's room, installing features like the portable toilet and handrails, which proved invaluable. My husband remarked,
"Now I can receive disability benefits and take it easy."
But our 20-year-old college student son, observing his nonchalant father, retorted with an incredulous expression,
"Dad, did you perhaps cause the accident yourself?"
Even my husband, despite his bedridden state, was riled up by our son's words.
"There's no way. How could you say such a thing to a parent who ended up like this?"
Despite being bedridden, his upper body functioned normally, and his speech remained unaffected. He continued to express his thoughts. My husband's life underwent a drastic change, but my burden also increased. Originally, my husband didn't participate in household chores, so his immobility didn't alter much. However, bathing him, as he couldn't do it alone, proved to be quite challenging. While I'm at work, he lies in bed watching TV or videos on his smartphone. For lunch, he eats the meals I prepared in advance while still in bed. He visits the hospital once a week for rehabilitation, and during those times, I accompany him for drop-offs and pickups. My husband dislikes these rehab sessions and often throws tantrums like a child when it's time to leave for the hospital. He'll say,
"Maybe I should skip today because I'm not feeling well."
"If you're not feeling well, let's go to the hospital for a checkup. You can do your rehab while you're there." He reluctantly complies. Even after returning home, he continues to complain about the doctor in charge of his rehabilitation.
"They don't need to be so strict with someone like me who can't move their legs. They seem to enjoy bullying me."
Despite experiencing improvements in leg strength due to rehab, he firmly believes it's all thanks to his own efforts. After living that way for 7 years, it started feeling like the new normal. According to the doctor, my husband's leg function has significantly improved, and with proper rehabilitation and muscle building, he could regain the ability to walk. Although the doctor has conveyed the same message to my husband, he doesn't seem to find joy in his recovery.
"I'm fine as I am. I don't think I'll get any better."
I assumed he resisted rehabilitation because he didn't want to put in the effort. Then, my sister called me with something peculiar. She works as a lunch delivery person, and she mentioned seeing someone resembling my husband at one of her delivery destinations. This person, who looked strikingly similar to my husband, was dragging his legs while walking, and their faces matched too. I chuckled and replied to my sister, "Are you sure it wasn't just someone who looks similar? There are plenty of middle-aged men around with a similar appearance." My sister didn't seem convinced and continued,
"Michael has that buzzcut hairstyle, right? It's quite unusual."
Since the accident, my husband has kept his hair short for easy maintenance. Now it had grown a bit, resulting in a halfway between buzz cut and regular hairstyle. Considering my sister regularly interacts with my husband, she probably wouldn't mistake someone else for him. When my work keeps me busy and I can't prepare lunch for my husband in the morning, my sister helps by delivering meals to him. Feeling a bit uneasy, my sister made a suggestion.
I have a pet surveillance camera. Shall we install it?
Despite thinking it might not be necessary, my sister insisted, so I decided to ask her to go ahead with it. Actually, I also had some suspicions about my husband. His shoes, which he couldn't put on by himself due to his inability to go out alone, were left out in the entrance. Normally, when he returned, I would have him change into indoor slippers and then I put away his outdoor shoes in the shoe cabinet, so it was unusual for them to be left out. Furthermore, my husband, who typically wore casual clothes at home, suddenly expressed a desire for fashionable attire.
If I set a goal to recover enough to go out wearing stylish clothes, I'll be motivated for rehabilitation.
Believing in his words, I bought him some clothes. Occasionally, I noticed that he had tried them on and sometimes discarded them on the floor. Since he struggled with changing clothes on his own, I often helped him. Upon hearing my sister's story, I wondered if he had been changing into those clothes and going out. On the day my husband went for rehabilitation, I asked my sister to install a hidden camera. She had a spare key to our house because she delivered lunch to my husband, making it easy to set up the camera. The camera provided real-time footage accessible via smartphone and allowed for recording. Although I wanted to trust my husband, there were lingering suspicions, and I wanted to uncover the truth. The results became clear quite soon. 2 days after my sister installed the camera, I arrived at work and casually checked my smartphone to see how my husband was doing. To my shock, I saw him standing up alone, changing clothes. Despite his unsteady gait, he seemed oddly cheerful as he discarded his sweatpants and switched to stylish attire. After finishing his outfit change, he checked himself in the mirror, fussing over his buzz-cut hairstyle, and then left the room. Witnessing my husband like this, I was devastated, and that day, work became impossible to focus on. Since my husband's accident, I have tirelessly cared for him every day. Discovering that he was secretly going out somewhere behind my back was unforgivable. During my lunch break, I called my sister and shared my husband's behavior. Just as you suspected, Michael seems to be going out somewhere. He even hid the fact that he can change clothes by himself. My sister tried to console my distraught self. But when I considered that my husband might be visiting the woman my sister saw, anger and helplessness welled up inside me. Since the accident, I hardly had any time for myself, always tending to my husband's needs. On the other end of the phone, my sister empathized with my feelings and kindly said,
Let's have a calm conversation about this. We need to teach your husband a lesson.
Her words brought some relief. Before hanging up, my sister emphasized,
Don't confront Michael about this yet. Let's wait and see for a while, okay?
Without her warning, I might have immediately confronted my husband in anger. That evening, when I returned home, my husband was lying on the bed watching TV as if nothing had happened. Remembering his solitary efforts to change clothes and go out, anger surged within me, but I maintained a calm facade while interacting with him. Despite being unaware of the hidden camera, my husband continued dressing up and leaving the house. During this time, my sister discreetly observed his actions, capturing footage on her smartphone as he entered the young woman's home on several occasions. About a month after installing the hidden camera, my sister and I met at a cafe to devise a plan to teach my husband a lesson. We had informed him that we were discussing work matters, allowing us to hold our strategy meeting until evening. While chatting with my sister and monitoring my husband's current state on my phone, I noticed him starting to change clothes. It seemed he was preparing to go out again. Would today be another rendezvous? As he finished changing, he sat on the bed, fidgeting nervously. My sister quipped,
Could it be that he's inviting his affair partner to your house today?
Although I doubted my husband would go to such lengths, considering his physical limitations, it made sense that he'd prefer an easier option. After a while, the doorbell rang, and my husband stood up from the bed, slowly walking toward the entrance. Remarkably, he moved without using his cane. Just as my sister had suggested, my heart raced. But the next moment, a young woman entered my husband's room. As soon as my sister saw her, she exclaimed,
This woman! She's the one Michael was with.
My sister and I hurriedly left the cafe and ran toward my house. Although the situation had been orchestrated from the other side, witnessing my husband and his affair partner together was still shocking. When we looked at the smartphone again in front of our house, a shocking image was displayed. My husband and his affair partner were embracing each other. Unaware that his wife was watching, my husband's passionate embrace with the other woman seemed inconceivable given his paralyzed lower body and bedridden condition. My sister and I entered the house and burst into my husband's room. Upon seeing us, my husband and his affair partner were so surprised that they remained locked in each other's arms for a moment, but then hastily pulled away. Perhaps feeling cornered, my husband stammered,
Oh, welcome back. You're early.
The young woman, who was the affair partner, tried to escape from the room, but my sister blocked her way.
I want to hear from you too, so please stay here a little longer.
I retorted to my husband, who was standing up by himself.
So your legs have miraculously healed? I've been completely deceived.
As I spoke, my husband deliberately clutched his legs and collapsed onto the bed. He insisted,
No, it's not what you think. She's a massage therapist who was helping with my leg pain. The massages improved it, but it still hurts.
The affair partner nodded in agreement with my husband's story. My exasperated sister pointed at the hidden camera and scolded my husband.
Everything was captured by that camera. It definitely didn't look like a massage.
She exclaimed. Upon realizing the camera's presence, my husband became defensive.
Installing a hidden camera is an invasion of privacy. This won't serve as evidence.
He shouted, displaying an energy incongruous with his bedridden state. My sister then showed him several photos. Clear as day, they depicted my husband entering a house, warmly welcomed by his affair partner. There was another photo of my husband alighting from a taxi, walking unaided without his cane. Unable to refute the photographic evidence, my husband stared at the images. I broke the silence.
Since when have you been able to walk on your own?
I asked, but my husband remained silent, so his affair partner answered.
About a year ago. Michael called me, saying he'd recovered and asked if we could resume our relationship.
She revealed. The phrase resume our relationship caught my attention, so I probed further.
Wait, were you two already involved before?
The affair partner, seemingly resigned, divulged everything. This affair partner was a colleague of my husband's, and they had been involved for about 10 years. However, their relationship had ended once due to an accident 7 years ago. Unexpectedly, as my husband's leg condition improved, he began pressuring her to resume their relationship. From my husband's perspective, even though he doesn't have to work, he could still receive disability benefits, and with his mobility returning, perhaps he simply wanted to play around. As for the affair partner, since they had been involved from the beginning, They were familiar with each other. Truly a win-win situation. Now I've discovered that my husband, who pretended to need my care due to leg pain, had been cheating on me for 10 years. The absurdity of all the effort I put into caring for such a terrible man left me speechless, almost wanting to laugh. In my stunned silence, my sister stepped in and berated my husband.
Spare me, Michael! Do you have any idea how difficult it's been for Mary since your accident?
My husband remained silent, frozen on the bed. The affair partner, perhaps thinking she was no longer needed, said,
I'll leave now. Don't worry, I won't be involved with this man anymore. It was a hassle dealing with his complaints about pain everywhere.
As she tried to leave the room, I grabbed her hand and retorted,
Since this man is a nuisance to me as well, could you take him away? Of course. You will also pay me proper compensation.
With a determined expression, I locked eyes with the affair partner, who seemed to realize I was serious, and she fled the house in fear. Left behind, my husband sensed my determination and pleaded with desperate eyes.
I was wrong. Please don't abandon me. I apologize.
My sister, smirking, shot back.
Since your body has fully recovered, you can live on your own, right?
To my tearful husband, I added,
We'll definitely get a divorce, but you'll also pay the appropriate compensation.
In a panic, my husband leaped off the bed, clung to me, and knelt down to apologize. He bent his legs, which were supposed to be immobile, revealing perfectly functioning knees. His legs had indeed healed long ago. Afterward, I moved out and began living in an apartment. My college student son had already moved out and was living on his own, but when I explained the divorce situation to him, he understood. Although he occasionally helped take care of my husband in my place, seeing my husband suddenly stand up alone made him suspicious. However, he never imagined that his father had been deceiving his mother and having an affair, so he was furious when he learned the truth. In addition to discussing the divorce, I involved a lawyer to handle the issue of compensation. My husband, who had been receiving disability benefits despite his healed legs, faced further complications. He was not only required to pay me alimony but also had to return the disability benefits. Although he wasn't working, he had received substantial insurance payouts after the accident, so he had some assets. I ensured that I received proper compensation and a fair share of our marital property. According to the lawyer, my husband claimed he would start working again, but after 7 years of idleness, what could he really achieve now? He sowed the seeds of his own actions, and it was time for him to face the consequences. After parting ways with my husband and starting to live alone, I've been enjoying my newfound free time. Previously, my life revolved around caring for my husband, leaving me with little time for myself. I want to reclaim the time lost during those 7 years of caregiving. It's heartwarming that my son occasionally drops by, concerned about me. I'm also looking forward to witnessing my son's continued growth.
How did you find this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time in the next video.